Ju? Ainda tá carregando. Ju?
Oi, Lu, não quer parar um pouquinho?
So as people are joining us, and because we have a big presentation for Echoes as well, because I imagine that especially those who are not in Brazil or maybe not in APAC might not have heard from us yet. So I would like to introduce ourselves, which is the reason why we're here today. It has been at least 4 years now that we've been having these conversations about design leadership. For us, has been a long journey, but some of you have not been joining us for all the past 4 years, but a lot has been happening. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Luna Pigato. I am the host for the Design Leadership course, and I am also the program owner, been putting everything together with Juliana for the past 4 years. And today I'm here with Juliana, which is the co-founder for Echoes and also our Chief Design Officer. She is the one who envisioned design leadership and who has been executing it with me for the past few years. So it's such an honor to be working with you, Ju, always. And I'm here with Mark and Emiliano. This is the second year that Mark's coming with us to teach a course on customer journey management, and Emiliano, I think, is the third year, if not the fourth, talking about articulating the value of design in business.
It is the third year.
So welcome. Thank you so much for always being so generous in sharing your time with us and everybody else. And let's just move forward. Ju, would you like to present Echoes?
Yes, please. So welcome, everyone. We just wanted to do another check-in if you haven't already. Say hello in the chat and where you are joining us from. We would love to hear where you're joining us from. We have a lot of people from different places. And I'll start sharing a little bit about who we are if you don't know us. So these are our amazing speakers. Echoes is a Desirable Futures Lab. Our purpose is to help people and organizations design desirable futures. We have been doing that since 2011. We were a company born in Brazil and then expanded to APAC. We believe a lot, of course, that design can create new realities. And instead of predicting the future, we intentionally speculate, design, and experiment to activate strategies and desirable futures. This is an ebook if you are interested. And we have what we think it's a complete offer on design and innovation. We focus on these 3 territories: design leadership, digital design, and design futures. And we also work through these 3 units of Echoes: the lab, where we do our projects together, usually with big organizations; the Echoes School, where we do courses such as the design leadership, but also others as design thinking, business design, social innovation, design your life, and etc. And we have the ventures as well. We are also proudly part of the Global Design Thinking Alliance. It is an alliance on design thinking. We are always collaborating with different universities across the globe. And we are one of I think we are still the only ones. We're not part of a university, we are independent, but it's great to collaborate with them and keep learning. We have more than 50,000 students around the world and more than 200 projects. And here are a bit of the companies they have been partnering with us, either for projects or for bringing their teams to many of our courses. I also wanted to share a little bit of some of our projects that we have been doing. So we work with far distant futures, such as this one that we work with WorkSafe in Australia to design a future vision for 2049. I'm helping them build their roadmap for work safety out of the industrial area and into the digital and to the well-being and the AI era as we're living. We also work with, for example, companies such as Faber-Castell. Faber-Castell, with next one, sorry, Luna, I think I skipped one. With Faber-Castell, we worked with them doing an innovation entrepreneurship journey helping them to design a service model out of a model that was focused on products. And we also do another kind of project that is very, very dear to us in the previous slide, Luna, thank you. That is a partnership with Google. We have been running the Google News Initiative since 2019, for example, accelerating more than 70 startups and big journalist organizations developing a mindset of product growth through design. We also have the ventures. This one is one of our startups called Futuroka, a digital platform focused on child learning from 2 to 6 years old, where parents and caretakers can create learnings routines through play in safe and healthy environment without compromising on quality of learning. And our newest venture is Surf Evolution. Some of you might like it. It's one of the first companies to create surfing equipment inspired by surf. And our mission is to create a new fitness category for those who look to improve their performance and life quality. All of these powered by design always. This is our main essence and everything that we believe in. I personally believe a lot in design as human nature. So, but I'll leave this thing for another day. And I'll pass the word back to Luna to present the design leadership. That is our course that you're joining us today. And this is the second fire session before the course starts.
Thank you, Ju. I love to know all of the initiatives. I can't wait to go to São Paulo and try Surf Evolution, since I am learning how to surf. But talking about design leadership season 4, it's coming up in a little less than a month. So it starts on April 22nd. This is our lineup of masterclasses and workshop leaders. I am not sure who of those here are familiar, but the way design leadership operates or happens is throughout 10 weeks. And in each of those weeks, you have the opportunity to have a lecture that it's more informative, as well as a workshop that is a lot hands-on for you to really channel that information, tangibilize, and be able to apply to your work immediately after that, and to bring your team as well on board with the new mindset. Those are the main 4 pillars that we believe is what sustain a good design leadership. So shaping and managing teams, articulating the value of design, building the next steps in design leadership, and the excellent until the last mile of design. Those 4 spheres comes from you and others, you and systems, you and yourselves, you and product and services. Today, we are here to talk about the sphere of you and systems with Mark and Emiliano. Let's move forward a little bit about the course. It's a 10-week course. We usually have 1 break. So it starts on the 22nd of April all the way until the 3rd of July. We have masterclasses and workshops happening in 2 different days. All of them happen usually on the same time. I don't know exactly where you are in the globe, but on our website, we have a feature where you will be able to translate that time zone to your location. Classes are about 2 hours, workshops a little bit over that, 2.5 hours. Sometimes it could be 3 hours. So a commitment of 5 hours per week. The classes, some of the students here, I saw some of our alumni here today. They can tell that they are quite deep, but fun and highly interactive. I think the best side effect is the network you create. And then today, we're going to talk about ecosystems design. I think that's the reason why there's so many people here. It's such an exciting subject, especially for designers, as in so many ways, we are gravitating a little more towards business, especially when you talk about design leadership and design as a strategic tool. I think we talk a lot about that during the course. And Ju, I think you have an intro for us. I would love to hear your thoughts about the critical junction. Can you please share some with us?
Thank you, Luna. I think it's important for us to acknowledge where we are at and what we have been perceiving as designers and innovation leaders around the globe. So I think you might be feeling in today's corporate landscape, the sphere of design spanning products, services, and systemic strategies find itself in a critical junction. One celebrated as the heart of innovation and user-centric approaches, design disciplines are now navigating a sea of challenges. We have been seeing that a lot, facing scrutiny and reevaluation of their roles within businesses. We have been seeing some layoffs, some things happening, some teams stretching, some teams struggling. And this introspective period is not merely a crisis. What we think is not merely a crisis, is a pivotal moment for reinvention and a deeper understanding of design's value. As narratives around the decline of design leadership and department unfold, P.S. I don't believe in them. It's imperative to dissect these stories, to uncover the realities beneath the surface. And this introspection invites a broader conversation about the essence of design thinking, its application across various disciplines, and its potential to drive transformative outcomes. And in this dynamic context, design's resilience and adaptability emerge as its greatest strength, offering a path forward through which design can research its indispensable role in business. So I wanted to quickly ask in the chat again, before we jump and start talking with Emiliano and with Mark, I wanted to ask you, what do you think? What is the role of design in driving business success? We are not only shaping products and services, but the very fabric of corporate strategy sometimes and systemic innovation. So I wanted to hear your point of view in the chat. What is the role of design in driving business success? So please put in the chat. It can be a quick or a long answer, however you like, and we will be able to see it during the session and inform us in a little bit in our discussion as well.
Thank you, Ju. I'm excited to see what's coming up. So now, and the reason why we're here today is to talk with Emiliano and Mark. You know now our perspective through Juliana's words, but to begin with, I would love for you guys to present yourselves. We are very familiar with you, but maybe not everybody here. So if you could start by introducing yourselves, it would be great.
Emiliano, you want to kick things off?
Okay, I can go. I can go first. Hey, good morning, afternoon, depending on the side of the world where you guys are at. My name is Emiliano Chinchelli. I'm Italian, but I have the chance of working and living around the world. I actually started in Europe, had some experience in all Latin America, and now working with an American company. So I guess I can bring a little bit of different perspectives. I am a design by formation, a classic Italian product designer, actually industrial designer first, and then product, and then digital, and everything else. I've been in the design leadership for at least the past 15 years, starting with the old Fjord that then was acquired by Accenture, then a few years in business consulting with McKinsey, later transferring all that knowledge into a financial institution for 4 years, preparing IPO and growth. And now I actually had the chance to switch into tech healthcare, and now I am a VP of product for Matrix Care. So this is in a nutshell.
Fantastic. I think I follow up. I'm Mark, a German living in Austria. So in the middle of the mountains, I still see the rest of the ski slope there. Doesn't work anymore, unfortunately. My background is actually in service design. Or if I look beyond that, it's actually strategic management. That's what I studied at school. Then worked in innovation, failed really hard by trying what I learned in a traditional German business school in reality, because as you all know, innovation is not writing business plans and execute, but that's how they taught innovation at that time. I moved into design. I work in the field of service design since more than 15 years, published books like This is Service Design Thinking, This is Service Design Doing. And one of my passions actually is anything related to journey mapping. I started the first software to do journey mapping, so the first dedicated journey mapping software more than 12 years ago, called Smaply, and that is still the business I'm running today. And beside that, I help organizations all over the world to embed and scale service design in their practice.
Pretty awesome. I mean, I'm biased. I've been working with you guys for enough years now to know that I'm a fan of your work, and really humbled to be working with you for the past few years. And then now that they know about you, and I hope they are just as excited as I am to know about your backgrounds, I would love to give everybody who's here a little spoiler about your masterclass. So if you could just tell us a little bit about what you have been preparing for them and what we can get them excited about without giving too much.
Should I start this time? Because my name is first. I'm German, you know. I love structure. Like if I'm first, I go first. It's can't help that. So what I will be focusing on my 2-hour masterclass is anything related to journey mapping. Surprise! And I have a clear focus there, however, on a topic that I'm working on for the last 8 years, which is using journey maps as a management tool. Called journey management or journey operations. And what we do there is we look at journey maps beyond how we can use them as a workshop tool, which is still awesome, or as a project tool, which is awesome as well. But how you use it beyond just one project. How can you use it to get an overview of different KPIs, give context to KPIs, understand how our business is performing from a customer's perspective or user's perspective? What are the projects we're currently running? Where do they impact experiences? What are pain points of customers? What are opportunities? And actually use this data then for decision making in the organization. So what we're doing by that is we bring design into the organization, customer centricity into the organization without using the words design or customer centricity.
At least exciting. I am. Go on, Emiliano, please.
Yeah, no, that's great, Mark. That's definitely something that, I mean, it's a must for any institution today. So about my side of the leadership, I had a moment in career when I switched from the strategic product design into the real business consulting approach, right? So that was a moment where I had to face the reality of the language of business, right? So where the this huge business consulting agencies started to being interested in design and design in general, and it was clear at that moment that we as designers needed to understand a bit more about that language and how business really works. You know, I think for who comes from design, it's kind of clear if you're solving a problem that has a value. But for business, you actually have to structure that value in a different way, right? And I think there is a lot of that in my lecture, is how we translate what is the value for a product for an end user into the business, and how we explain that, how we talk about that, and how we build a story around that so that we can really show the value, not only for the end user, not only as solving a problem, but for the business itself, and how we scale that and how we grow into opportunities. So not getting into details, I guess that covers a little bit of the, what I want that this actually, this lecture brings to you.
For the past few years, I know that people are always excited about this particular class, because I feel like designers, obviously they're not studying design for the sake of doing business, but now the market, the industry has been forcing us to learn a new language, and it's always a matter of language. Which is for me interesting enough, and no matter what you're talking about, if it's numbers or a product or a service, it's always about language. So now let's go into some of our questions here. talking about the value of design, how do you, Emiliano, as a design leader, communicate the strategic value of design to corporate leaders and across different departments as well, which I think is the #1 challenge, right?
Yes, definitely. I think there is a need of getting into a relationship with other business leaders at first. Everything that we will communicate with others needs to be accepted first, right? So there is a relationship that needs to start between the leadership of all the areas. And you need to start with the common respect of the areas. So if you're into business digital analytics or data, your work should be as important as the one of a designer. And this type of agreement should start at first. You know, you shouldn't see anyone more important than the other. And this is something that should come from your CEO, CPO, whoever is the leadership of your department. And that's important because usually we come with a stigma, right? So if you're a designer, you might be seen as someone that makes screens or someone that beautifies something. If you are in an environment that is where design is not a common area or is not understood. So I think that's probably the first alignment. Even before you start your your journey into the company, you should make clear, you know, what's your role and what do you need, what do your leadership expect from you. The second part is understanding change management and transformation in general, right? And nobody steps into a leadership role and you will have everybody doing what you say, right? You just can demand people to do their things that are new or that are different from where they're used to work with. So that communication should get into the second layer, and you need to start creating an environment where these discussions are ongoing and you are able to showcase the benefits of design in all its levels and specifically for all the different areas, right? So if you're talking with financial people, you can bring cases of where design worked specifically in that area and brought opportunities, as well as for classic customer experience. So you should strategize around your layers of partners and leaders, so that you can strategize for each of the areas that you will be working with. And the third thing is create a program. You know, you should have a program that it's a continuous program, but you should keep focusing on managing communication, managing how you show the value, how all the parts that involve design. So, you know, design is not a standalone practice. You have data, you have research, you will have UI, you will have product development. So all that areas should follow the way that design should lead. And that's the program that I think all of us as leaders should have in mind and should have in place as soon as you start in a new position. So I think these three are the key layers for me to start communicating and getting all these different departments to actually work with you and be partners with you rather than just other departments.
I love a question in the chat that I just saw. Maybe I can jump in and just comment on that, because Peter wrote, "I'm curious how the presenters feel about design having to prove their value via metrics, where other professions may not always have to do that, like software developers, although they also need to do it, but they measure it differently, right?" And I'm not talking about lines of codes or crap like that. But when I talk to leadership, I often get questions like, when I talk about service design, so tell me, what is the return of investment of service design? And I love to first reply with a counter question. I said, please tell me, what is the return of investment of management? It's really, really hard to answer, right? On this broad level, because you can't. But if we think about how we prove our value, and we look at how other professions are doing that, and yes, I think everyone proves somehow with different metrics, although it might be various and very different ones. But if we look at things like marketing, if they get the answer, what is the return of investment of marketing? They probably get a reply like, well, our 3 best performing campaigns last year were, and they can tell you for these examples on a per project basis exactly how much put they in, what it was their return. Now, if we learn from that in service design or design in general, we can measure it on a per project basis. Like, one thing I often do is I look at a pain point. We try to solve this pain point for a user, right? And we always say it's hard to quantify how much this pain point actually contributes to the overall revenue or to the overall conversion, because it's just one factor, and that is really, really difficult. But what we can do is we can look at how much cost does this one pain point actually infuse into the organization. How many support tickets do we get? How many communications we have to run around that? So you see a cost factor that is clearly attributed to this one pain point. And then when you know your budget, how much you put in there to actually resolve it, you can calculate a very clear return of investment. I think that helps to move away from a discussion where we talk about design is about aesthetics and how Emiliano said it's beautifying things, right? Into, no, we're actually talking business here. And I think that is one thing we need to do. When we want to talk about leadership in design, we need to speak the universal language of what our organization values. And that is often money. Depends on the organization. Might be something else, of course, in NGOs. And so in social service, it might be completely different. But in most organizations, we need to learn how to speak money.
I think if we can continue the discussion. I don't
Please,
know if,
I love this.
Yeah, I think it's important to look at how other areas talk about value and money in general, because I think we can learn a lot on how to translate that value, right? So I got amazed the first year that I was into this business consulting, and I was quite amazed on how they actually were creating this initial evaluations for potential products or potential features sometimes. And, it's not far from what, designers do into the discover phase. You just have to quantify that based on the opportunity of the market, the number of people. And when that clicks, you're actually starting to talk that language, and then you can add those layers into your research and the end value of your product. So it's not that far from what we do, and it's not that difficult either.
Nice one.
Well, it shouldn't be, but at the same time, I think we're going to this question here now, and you guys are talking about that, but in a way, I'm like, why do we have to adapt to those languages and those metrics? Is it because of the essence of design that we can do that? Or is it because there's a whole imposter syndrome that permeates designers in general? This is not a question that we were thinking about before, but you guys are talking about that, and it makes me think, why is it that we have to be constantly adapting? Why is it that we have to be the ones changing the language of how we are talking to each of those departments if they are not doing that back to us? I don't know if you want to answer that. I would love to just hear your perspective as well.
I think design often serves as a hub. People like as a hub in an organization that is actually connecting different parts of the organization. Like if we look at You often see organizations who move into working more agile, right? And or whatever buzzword they use for it. So basically, it's also designed like three things. It's working in sprints, it's doing research, working really with humans, and it's prototyping. I think that's what we all align on as a common denominator between agile and design, or whatever you use for it. But if you look at how they practice it, what often is an issue are the silos in the organization, because different parts in the organization work differently. So if one part of the organization adapts a new way of working, that doesn't mean that everyone else can adapt like it. And often designers are the ones who need to translate between that. And I mean that fairly literally. Like, I work with so many design departments where designers needed to take requirements from one piece of software and copy paste it into another piece of software, because simply one part of the organization is running on Excel and another part of the organization is running on Jira. And I think that is why, because every part of the organization changes constantly, we as designers do that as well, right? Our tools change. I mean, 10 years ago, we used a completely different tech stack than what we're using today. And that is happening with others as well. But I think we feel it, and we feel a big impact because we need to translate between all the different pieces and the organizations constantly. And that's why we need to adapt.
Yeah, it's really a great way to put it. And I think just going a little bit to the metrics, right? I had a few years ago when I started getting into the mainly startups. We were as a business consultant, we were helping startups a lot at the time, and there was a lack of business metrics for experience. Let's call it so, which it's kind of vague, but Mark, the user journey should define, what are the values, of this experience. But since CEOs and other leadership, they come from the Ivy Leagues most of the times, and business MBAs, they still lack that understanding that they need clear metrics for experience, for end results that validate the user or the usage of that product. So I think today there is a better knowledge, a better understanding of those needs for the business, but still it's very hard to define a metric for value for the end users that meets the business goals. I'll make a quick example for us at Matrix Care. Matrix Care, it's a SaaS software for healthcare, right? And the end user was actually spending more time using the platform than actually taking care of the patients, right? Mainly nurses at the time. So we actually had the chance to switch, as one of our main metrics is actually to give back time to the caregivers. So that metric actually became an extreme value for the business, because you're actually not only helping the end user to make a better job, but actually you're giving to your end customer, the facilities, a better way of serving their customers. So giving back time for the end users. And until we had the chance to discuss that, the business were only looking at how many softwares they were selling, or how many extra features you could actually add on so that you can get more money. But the end result, that is the value for the customer, wasn't there. So we managed to switch that, and now we have a clear metric for experience, which helped the business as well. So it's hard sometimes to discuss the value of design or the value of experience if you don't have a clear business metric for that.
Well, now that I hear you saying that, I remember back in the day studying marketing, because that's my background. And there was this concept called marketing or business myopia. So in a way, I feel like if you are doing business and if your focus is your revenue, you might be narrowing your perspective, rather than if you're looking into the experience, you're really thinking of all the touch points. And I think that will go into customer journey. You're looking at all your touch points and who are those who are participating in those touch points. That might not be only one person, like you just said. They were thinking of one thing, and at the end, you're able to not only provide a better experience for the ones who are using the apps, but at the end of the case, and something that will probably also make the app wants to be valuable, the client or the patient in that case. My husband is a doctor, so that really speaks to me because it makes so much sense. I feel like, especially in the healthcare system, just like financial systems, there's so much that needs to be done. It's quite archaic. So I would love to try to move us forward. And I think we answered the past two questions just as we were chit-chatting. So here, we've been talking a little bit about that, and I would like to also know from your perspective, Mark, because I remember from your masterclass last year that you were talking about that. And I really was like, how can he, with this software, make all of the companies speak the same language? And I think it comes to this question: how can design leaders, and I would love for you, if you can, also talk a little bit about Maply in your answer here, foster collaboration across different departments, knowing that, like you said, they're most likely maybe using different systems, definitely talking different languages, and then articulate the value of design, in your case, service design. And maybe for those who don't understand design, especially, I believe everyone here in the call might be designers, but and this call will be recorded for future. So can you please give us some clarity?
Yeah, happy to. And I just want to make clear, it's not about the software, right? There are loads of other journey mapping tools out there, and some of them work better than others, but it is about the tool of a journey map, because customers don't care about silos of organizations. They don't care about like departments or job descriptions and so on. But if you look at how the journey unfolds and who a customer comes in touch with during their experience, it's loads of different parts of the organization. Now, it might happen, like if we follow a very simple high-level map, that you come in touch through advertisement with marketing. You come in touch with sales when you buy something. And then you start using a product, whatever it is, and you have an issue and you call the technical hotline. You suddenly end up in the IT department, and it feels like a different company. It is a different tone of voice. It is a different thing they value, because every department of the organization measures success differently. So when we talk about customer centricity, the reality is most organizations are silo-centric because we measure success within the silo. So what helps you is if you think of a journey map like maps in geography. Think of Google Maps. You can zoom out and take a look at a continent. You don't see a lot of details, but you get a good overview. Then you can zoom into a country. You can zoom into a city. The more you zoom in, the more details you see. And likewise, you can set up your journey map system. Think about it as a hierarchy, as an atlas, where you have a high-level map or multiple high-level maps. You can zoom into certain parts. At some point, you're probably within like a small journey only within a department. But the more you zoom out, the more you see how everything is actually connected with each other. And it's often that one department builds out the expectation and sets a level of expectation that others need to keep. Now, I think a journey map is a wonderful tool to bring this outside-in perspective to an organization, where you can constantly see how are you contributing, so you, your team, your department, to the overall experience. And I think there is a general misconception about why we're using journey maps. Many people think we use journey maps to design the happy path, like the path customers should take. But the reality is we do journey mapping to understand what can possibly go wrong, and then ask ourselves the question, are we prepared for it? Like if you work for an airline, so many things can go wrong. You have your boarding pass on your phone, you run out of battery. Your luggage doesn't make it, you don't make a connection. And these are the interesting bits in the journey. Are we prepared for it? How does the experience then unfold? Who is in charge of that? So for a journey, you can add multiple layers underneath. You can think about the RASI approach, like who is in charge of that? Who should be informed? Who can act as an expert to help you in that? Which are the systems you use? What are communication channels you have available to reach out to customers, or customers have to reach out to you? So it shows you the complexity. And because of the different zoom levels, you can zoom out and look at very complex things intentionally in a very reduced format. And that makes it graspable. So you can actually work with it. I saw earlier in the chat, design is making the intangible tangible. And that's what we're doing with that. Last thing there is, it also helps you to make something very hard, that is very hard to make tangible in the organization. That is the vision. The vision of an organization is often something very blurry, right? We want to be the fastest, we want to be the best one, we want to be whatever. If you nail it down on a per journey basis and say, how does this actually feel for the customer? How should it be reflected in the journey? How should the journey be in innovation horizon 1, 2, 3? So in the nearer future, in 3 years and 5 years, where we want to be and where are the vision gaps? You suddenly can use this system to create a backlog that is independent of the different silos of the organization. And one problem many organizations have is the fight between their roadmap against the backlog. So backlog is things like pain points, right? Where you know something is not really working. The problem we have is nobody in the organizations get promoted for fixing a pain point. But people get promoted for this shiny new feature that we add, right? And that's why when the roadmap and the backlog fight against each other, the roadmap will always win. If you look at it through another perspective, what actually makes more sense, then probably fixing the bigger pain points make more sense. If you put all of that together and you try again to quantify that and try to estimate financial impacts on it. So I think language matters, and I think it helps if we try to estimate or at least guesstimate, which is really an approach, and it's really good. It helps you, similar like what we do in business plans, we try to estimate what is the impact of that. It helps you to bring all of that together in a line and helps you with decision making. In business terms, where do we get the biggest bang for our buck? What should we be doing next? Independent of silos of the organizations, but from a customer's perspective. What we do is we bring this into organizations without talking about customer centricity or design. And by using more management tools. So we use things like a balanced scorecard for a journey to measure the experience. Never use just one KPI, right? We did this mistake 10 years ago with a net promoter score. Horrible things are happening. Always have a mix of KPIs. We use portfolio management. So we use traditional business tools, and that makes a difference. That helps us to bring it really into the organization where decisions are made. And if we look at design systems at scale, actually what we need to look at are decision systems, because where the decisions are made is where you decide where the organizations are going.
Mark, would you be able to give us any example of maybe a project you've done where by implementing customer journeys management help that collaboration between the departments for of course for something that later on you could measure as a success?
I give you 2 examples. Maybe like the thing is, we always need to break it down. Like you need to be successful on a project level, and what journey mapping helps you with is to coordinate all the different projects. But it's only successful if the project itself is also successful. So an example from my own company from 2016 was we were launching our new version at that time, the second version of Smaply. And of course, we practice what we preach, like we created journey maps and we envisioned how the experience would be. We thought like, what could work well, where we had open questions and so on. And we realized there was like a big pain point during the sign up. And that was because two different teams were working together there and it didn't really click. And by redesigning this journey, and basically it was just about changing the sequence a bit, we increased conversion by 500%, leading to a crash of our servers, which was quite a moment at that time. But like these little projects is what proves the value of understanding where do we need to focus on. Because we only identified to focus on this moment because we had an overview of the overarching journey, understood what are all the pain points and where do we need to focus on. So what it now helps organizations with from different industries is understanding from a customer's perspective, what is the next big thing we should be focusing on and how can we align on that?
I love that. Like, I think Hackers is all about that. Like Juliana said, instead of just expecting for the future, designing for it. So expecting what the next thing is and aligning on the next step, it's at least an easy common ground. Not that easy maybe, but it's easier to find a common ground. Thank you. And now this is pretty much our last question. And I would love to hear both your perspectives, and I think also from everyone who is here. Reflecting on the current state of design, understanding that a lot of changes has happened in terms of like, the market got super big in 2021, 2022, and then all of the layoffs, and now we cannot even use design in certain situations. Like, we are all over the place, literally. I feel like it. I think most of us probably do, especially if you are working in the industry. But then what do we envision, or how have we've been designing the future of design? What are you doing, especially as a leader? How have you been setting up your team, your career for the next stage of design?
Can start. I think as every, I think that the situation is not unique for design. You know, as much as a practice, let's call it practice, but evolves, it expands into new areas, right? As design with business, but also with the marketing, with the customer service, which used to be customer service, now it's customer experience. So, you know, design starts to get a broader area of action. And that's what is needed for a leadership. You know, you need to understand new areas. If you're a very good designer, you should be able to grow in your career, but to become a design leader, you should have a broader vision, and you should start putting yourself in other shoes as well. And so I think that's what I think the future of design needs. You know, leaders that takes the role of a broader leadership. You in your teams or in my teams today, an example, I think designers make probably 70%, not more than that, of the whole group. Then we have business analysts, we have data analysts, we have developers, we have a series of other figures that are inside of the design teams today. And you need to understand those areas as well. You know, I had data scientists in my as part of my team, because we were actually quantifying the overall experience. We were quantifying our user base based on behavior and so on. So all that understanding of how technology, business, and other areas that are involved in the design process you need to get to be part of that, right? So otherwise, people that are more comfortable in managing different areas will take your place, and that's what is happening. Like a general manager today gets to own the design area because design area gets up to a certain point on when if they're only designers. But if your design area becomes a strategic area where you actually look at research, look at insights, start bringing evidence of value of your users and overall business, then you become a pillar of your company, of your enterprise, and not just an area that is a specialized area. So I think a design area that brings together multiple a diverse team can bring out a very diverse and very valuable perspective as well. So my suggestion is that as soon as you have the opportunity to step up into director levels or you lead an area, starts to open a bit more your your arms and start welcoming other figures into the design teams, and that will just, I think, give a boost to your value as an area inside of the company that previously you don't have, because you will limit yourself into what people understand about design. But if you start bringing technology and data scientists and even UX writers, as we call, so content managers, you start owning a small company. You become a CEO of a company, so you will have budgets to deal with, you will have to deal with skills, career maps that are very diverse. So you actually step out of the only design area, and your values will also be differentiated for the company. So I don't know if I stepped a little bit out of the topic of the question, but yeah, I think designers need to broaden themselves into the business of the company that you are. Don't be shy of asking for different backgrounds of people for your area. Don't be shy on learning all these new areas that involve making you a more general manager, let's call it so. I think that's an important step for design leaders.
I would like to, first of all, like if we talk about the current state of design, are we having a design crisis, or are we having an economic crisis, right? So if we look at those layoffs, they're not only designers, right? It's across the board. And if we look what happened the last 10 years, I think we made tremendous progress in giving an understanding of how important customer experience is, employee experience is, patient experience is, no matter what area you work in. And I think it's now a given fact, and people understand it, that there is a clear correlation between investing into experiences through design and the business impact of an organization. Like think about the business value of design from McKinsey from 2018 and so on. People now understand that. Like think back 10 years ago. We were fighting for it, trying to explain it. We don't need to explain that anymore. So I think we made a huge progress in the time. I think what is really confusing, however, is all these labels that we have. So I work in the field of service design, and I actually don't like this word, or this term service design, because people think they know what it means immediately when they hear it. They hear service and they think, oh, service, that's how a waiter brings you the coffee. They hear design and they think, oh, design, that's like aesthetics, right? The design of my new iPhone. Then they put those two words together and they think they know what service design means. It's aesthetics, how a waiter brings you your coffee. That's not really interesting. What it is for me is service is what makes 80% of our GDP, of our economy. If you follow streams in marketing like service dominant logic, it's 100%. Everything is a service. Physical products are just avatars for service. A car provides mobility and so on. Design is improving the state of something from where it is right now into a better state. So it's improvement, it's innovation. If you put those two meanings together, what service design is to me, it's the approach we use to improve what makes 80%, if not even 100% of our economy. Now that is a very different understanding. I think language matters. And sometimes I work with organizations who tell me, yes, we do service design. Then I look at what they're doing and they do crap. And sometimes people have different terms for what they're doing and they say, oh, that is brilliant what you're doing. But they don't call it design. So for every organization, and that's why I struggle with all these maturity models, because I haven't found any model that actually fits reality, because it's complex, right? Every organization is different. Language is different. What might be a role that is well respected in one organization is a role in another organization that doesn't play a matter there, because we have a different language. So we need to understand what an organization values and then build on that and understand like what is design. And maybe also it is, if they use a different word for our practice, fair enough. Maybe don't call it design, but actually what we're doing, what we're practicing is design.
I love all that you said, and I'm loving the questions on the chat. I didn't even put it on, but I asked there. We are about to wrap up here. I definitely want to open for a few questions, even though we are a minute in. But while someone wants to speak up, first of all, thank you, Emiliano and Mark. I am super excited for what's ahead, starting on the 22nd of April. Again, this is our lineup. If you want any more information about the Design Leadership Program, the website is super interesting, easy to navigate. I am always available. I would love to hop on a chat. I think some of the alumni know that if you just want to call me, we're going to have a 30-minute conversation where we're going to be talking about the romantic perspective of how we can change the future together. Classes start on the 22nd of April, every Monday and Wednesdays, unless you are in APAC. So it might be every Tuesday and Thursday. There's a typo here. And I didn't say in the beginning, but for those who would stayed here, first of all, I know that if you are here until now, it's because this subject really matters, or at least you are highly interested. So if you're here today, and only for those who are here today, you have the opportunity before the end of the week to register with 40% off. We did not even offer that discount for early bird. So it's really for those who we know that are interested. So take advantage of that. The code is here. And otherwise, you can just shoot me an email, write me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, anywhere. It's easy to find me. We have another fire session tomorrow about designing artificial intelligence. More than anything, I'm just excited to hear what they have to say, because I don't really know much about the subject. But come join us at the same time as the one that we are on today. And then who has any questions that we might be able to still answer? Maybe one or two questions, so we don't take much of their time. Anyone?
Was
Yeah,
a
I
question
dropped it in the chat.
I
Yeah.
think, there is a question in the chat about how you would define systems design.
Ecosystem. Yeah.
Ecosystem design.
Yeah. I asked that. Basically, feel like we covered the implications, the siloing, the translating between departments within a company. Can we get into that term, ecosystems design?
Yeah, I'm happy to have a go. So what I phrase as service design, like there is no service that is happening outside of an ecosystem. It's always embedded within the system, where you have different physical products, different digital products, and probably different services as well. So there are some specific tools we like to use in designing within the context of an ecosystem, like stakeholder mapping, system mapping, ecosystem mapping, where you basically visualize the surrounding, either from a customer perspective or from an organization perspective, who actually is involved. So how I would define it is actually you never design anything without considering the ecosystem, because you always need to understand where is this embedded. And while we're typically not designing the entire system, we are designing parts or responsible for parts of the system and understanding what is the implication of changes that we do or additions that we do to the entire system.
Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna take just a different perspective on the fact that, and maybe it's just me, but I think the difference between, the difference between a service design and an ecosystem design, an ecosystem should be self-sustained. And what I mean is, like, the parts of the ecosystem should be as important as the ecosystem itself. So if you don't have one of the parts involved, your solution won't stay, won't work. And of course, this is a matter of, you know, definitions. I don't think that this is like anything that should be written in stone. But I give you an example. We had a very interesting project a few years ago for the low-income banking, let's call it so. They used to call it the bank for the unbanked, and it was in one of the South American countries here, where the disparity between classes is huge, and banks had tried many times on, you know, creating special accounts, you know, giving cards, and it was always a failure, because either the people that were getting these accounts weren't able to pay their dues, or weren't even able to use their cards in a proper way. So it was a big failure. The project actually identified a series of elements that without any of them, it wouldn't work. So, for example, yeah, you might have a card, but if you don't have a way of showing these people how they should spend the money, the little money that they have, in a more conscious way, that wouldn't work. Or how do you embed social parts of their environment into that? So, for example, they used to have ways of raising money for small communities. They used to call it pollada. So like families will actually grill chickens and sell for the community, so they actually can get money. So how would you embed those type of social elements into that ecosystem, and so on? So how do I get my money, and how I can, by analytics, understand how these people would use or would not use this money. So all these elements were actually extremely important for that to make sense, right? So that the project were viable or not. So that was, for me, a difference between an ecosystem and a service, right? The ecosystem, if any of these parts don't work, your project won't be successful. While a service could actually make sure that you end up with the result, even though one of the parts maybe are not involved or not successful. I don't know if that makes sense, but I just had that type of situation in my mind where I try to differentiate the two.
This is amazing. I want to honor our time, considering that it's 7 minutes past 9. Mark and Emiliano, again, I am humbled by how generous you are with your time and with your knowledge. Thank you for sharing your wisdom.
Pleasure.
With us. It's always good to hear you. I'm excited to what's starting on the 22nd. If you have any questions about Echo's Design Leadership Program, please reach out to me or Juliana. We're almost always available, like I like to say. And for those who might have registered for tomorrow, I will see you here tomorrow, same time.
Thank you so much. It's a
Thanks for
pleasure.
having me.
Thank you. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Have a good day, afternoon, evening.
Thank you.
Bye. Oh, perfect. Peter, you got your answer from Mark. This is great. I hope you're still here.
Even though it was just a very quick one. But if you Google it, you'll find stuff.
Yeah, he's still here. I hope he will be able to copy and paste your answer. Thank you,
I
Mark.
am. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Bye. Hi. Bye.